This is gonna be like the most informal off-season Q&A possible. There's been no questions submitted, so I may just sit here and talk about whatever. Just random things going on in the world, random things going on in my life. For example, don't buy Civilization 6. Don't do it. It immediately becomes about the only thing you do with your life. One of my major concerns right now is, as Rome, should I start attacking city-states or should I try to fold them into my empire diplomatically? Winter's tough. It's like, I think it's 10 degrees here in Chicago right now. The last time we talked, I don't think Edwin Encarnacion was on the team. So that's a relatively important thing that's happened. Definitely want to talk about some of the different things that we can expect from him. I love the conversation about, is he going to regress immediately, or at his age can we expect a couple of years of the type of production he's already given teams that he plays for? And then I'm still interested to see whether or not the Indians take a look at extending guys like Ramirez or Lindor, both of whom I think are going to be centerpiece players for a long time. Lindor is obvious, but I don't think as many people think that Jose Ramirez is going to be a Brooks Robinson that can hit 30 home runs. I think so. It's a little crazy. But if you're bold enough to get that hairdo, then I think you can rake. Just to get us started here, Neil Schwartz wants to know, how much can Abe Almonte be trusted? It's a good question. I trust him as a fourth outfielder. Absolutely. I don't have a great familiarity with his statistics, but I am going to go ahead and pull them up. One of the things I remember is that his first game with the Indians, he, I think, hit a home run, ended up scoring a couple of runs, and had a stolen base, which was delightful. Anytime somebody comes up for the first time, it was like shortly after the trade with the Padres, which is where he had been for a few years, you'll take that. This past season, what Abe gave us was 264, 294, 401. Not quite what you're looking for in a player. In about almost the same number of plate appearances and at-bats the year before, he gave us 264, 321, 455, so more walks, more doubles for sure. Or no. It was actually, this is a weird thing. Here's a weird statistical thing for Almonte. In 2015, he hit 9 doubles, but 5 home runs and 5 triples. In 2016, he hit 20 doubles with only 1 triple and 1 home run. Weird. I wonder, obviously the home runs are incredibly valuable, but I wonder, on that slugging percentage, I'd be interested to see what the difference in value is for those specific hits where he hit doubles this year rather than triples or home runs, because I have a decent idea of what it is in a vacuum given averages for all of the baseball that's ever happened, but I would be curious to see what the value of those doubles were compared to all of his extra base hits last year. It would take me like 10 minutes to look up, which isn't a lot of time, but on a live show, it would be me sitting there going for 10 entire minutes, and I don't want to subject you to that. To get back to the question, can he be trusted? Yes. Is he going to be a starter? 40 games, maybe 60 games, I think so. Center field's going to be a platoon for the Indians. It's going to be Naquin and Almonte. And that's fine. I think that Naquin's going to regress quite a bit. And Almonte, I think, is better than the 77 OPS plus he put up last season. I don't necessarily think he's an all-star, but I think he's an average everyday player in the major leagues. So he can be trusted to be a decent player. Not an all-star. Not going to hit 10 home runs. But he's a guy I don't mind having on the roster. He's also going to be, like, he was 27 last season and is turning 28, so these are going to be his peak years, more or less. I'm excited to see if we can get a spike of power from him, because if we've got a guy off the bench that can swat, I'm thinking of someone like Russell Branyan, if you remember him on the Indians. To my mind, he's the perfect example of a one-tool player, where Branyan is famous for hitting a home run in Double-A in Akron over the restaurant, which is a 500-foot home run. And then I think his career batting average was about 240. I'm going to look it up now. But I remember when he came up thinking, ooh, he's going to be the guy. And of course, I didn't know much about baseball at the time. I just liked the long ball. And, I mean, let's be fair, Russell Branyan played for 14 years in the majors. That's a career. That's a wonderful thing, to be able to play baseball in the major leagues for 14 years. I'm not taking that away from him. But these numbers are stupid. His career average was 232, 329, 485, which is dumb. But just as an example, in 2001 with the Indians, 16 doubles, 20 dingers, and he hit 232. It's like Super Napoli in a way. 132 strikeouts, by the way. So he's absolutely a true outcome, three true outcome kind of player, except he didn't really walk. And there's so many players in baseball like that, where they've got one tool that's incredible. And for Branyan, it was power. And he could jack the shit out of a fastball. But the most plate appearances he ever had in a season was 505 with Seattle in 2009. And they just kind of needed people on the field at that time. So you wonder if he'd have been a guy like Joey Votto, who took the time to study the game, really wanted to pay attention to what statistics say is the right thing to do at the plate, what do people in the media, what do people who research the game say is the right thing to do at the plate. Could he have pulled it off? Maybe. One of my favorite stories from the past year is the guy on the Orioles. I can't think of his name. He hit a lot of bombs. Trumbo. This offseason, looked at his launch angle, took a lot of time, dug in deep, and decided, mine's too low. There's all of this research that says that a slightly higher launch angle is going to help me hit more home runs. He worked on it all off season, and he went out and hit a lot more home runs. And that's awesome that sabermetrics and statistical analysis are to a point now where it's not just people like me who are sitting in a bedroom at, 4 in the afternoon on a Sunday talking about baseball and statistics because it's all he cares about, but it's penetrating the game in a way that's actually affecting the way that players play. And he had a great season this year. He's going to make a lot of money on his contract if he hasn't signed it yet. I haven't seen if he's landed somewhere yet or not. I think he did. But you look at a guy like Russell Branyan, And you wonder, had he broken into the game in 2008 instead of 1998, maybe he's more aware of those kinds of things that can work on drawing walks or choking up and putting the ball into play a little bit more to make himself a little more valuable. Oh. The other major thing I want to talk about today is Yandy Diaz. I've been a supporter of him for, I'd say, a year and a half now. Here's what he did in the minor leagues last season. In Akron, he hit 286, 445, 381. So people weren't pitching to him, basically, because of how good he was at the plate. And he was like, thanks for first base. I'm going to walk over there. In Columbus, 325, 399, 461. These are great numbers. He's 25 years old, which he's 2 years younger than me. What is happening? I hate that I'm getting old. Please make it stop. He's got a great eye, and I think it's underrated by professionals. He can play any position in the infield, basically, and corner outfield. A lot of people are saying that Diaz is great because his floor is so high as a prospect, and I think they're underrating the ceiling. Like, he's 25. He's still got 5 more years to add power to his bat. Hitters tend to peak at 27, 28, but power continues to grow until you hit your 30s. If you're Hank Aaron, it continues to grow until you're 36, which, fuck you, Hank, but if Diaz aged that way, I'd be delighted. The point is, though, he should have been called up instead of the Indians signing Michael Martinez for the playoff run. And he should break with the team in the spring for the regular season, unless for some reason he has a terrible spring, and I don't see that happening. And we're talking about a guy who, and I've dug into his history a little bit, his father defected from Cuba to go play Major League Baseball. I think when Diaz was 5, and he's not talked to his father since then. But Diaz also defected to go play baseball because he knew his father never made the major leagues, and he knew the thing that his father would want more than anything else in the world is to have a son who played Major League Baseball. Novels have been written about this kind of thing, and this is a story that's unfolding in real life, and they still haven't reconnected. So yeah, to a certain extent, I want him to succeed because it's a beautiful story to imagine him becoming a great Major League Baseball player and imagining them reuniting. And maybe they won't, because if you defect from Cuba and leave your entire family behind because you want to succeed, I'm sure there's some ill will there, but he belongs on the team at the major league level for what he's done in the minors. I don't know that he's going to be an all-star caliber guy, but I could see him putting up 3 wins for 4 or 5 seasons once he comes up. And that's going to be a really valuable guy to have on the team. And we're going to have team control until he's 32 as well. So we're going to milk the good years out of him for not very much at all. Hashtag free Yandy. Put it up on Twitter. Put it up on Facebook. Go to Wahoo's TP on Reddit and start spamming it. He deserves to be on the Major League roster. Other thing that's going on at Let's Go Tribe right now is the prospect rankings. And a lot of people have said this is their favorite thing that we do at Let's Go Tribe, is when we sit down and take a look at the prospects, go from 1 to, I believe it's 20. We do 20 prospects, and take a look at which ones are the best in the system, according to Let's Go Tribe readers. So far this year, Francisco Mejia's number one. Hard to argue with. He had a 50-plus game hitting streak in the minors, one of the longest in 30-odd years, I think. One of the longest in a long time, for sure. I think it was about 30 years. He's a switch-hitting catcher. He's a switch-hitting catcher who just had one of the longest hitting streaks in the history of minor league baseball. That's about all you need to know. Rated as a competent defender. I haven't actually taken a look to see what people say about his arm. If someone, for example, if Brian Heminger is watching now and can give us that would be delightful. But he's definitely a guy that I'm excited to see come up through the system. Not a lot of people expected him to have that kind of bat. And we almost lost him because he was part of the LaCroix trade that got vetoed. Tristan McKenzie was as well, and we'll get to Tristan. He's going to be there. Number 2 Indians prospect so far, according to Let's Go Tribe readers, is Bradley Zimmer. The big concern with him is the strikeout rate so far. Everyone's always said he's a 5-tool guy, and he is. He's not like Griffey 5 tools. Maybe he's like... All right, let's say that Ken Griffey Jr. is Dortmunder. Or maybe we'll say he's Elliot Ness. That would work too. So solid, exemplary, something that everyone's proud of. Zimmer compared to that would be like a... I don't dislike Thirsty Dog, but they're Labrador. Like if Griffey was Dortmunder, which to my mind is like the golden ale, that style of beer for sure, then Zimmer's a Labrador. It's not bad. Very good taste. Just not at that same kind of level. So it's 5 tools, but maybe slightly plus in all of them, whereas Griffey was arguably plus, like 70, 75 grade in all of them. Oh, he's increased his strikeout rate at every single level he's played, and he struck out 37% of the time in 37 games at AAA Columbus. Maybe it's just him adjusting to the kind of stuff that guys who are on the edge of the show have. But for a guy who's now 24 years old, now on the precipice of Major League Baseball, you worry a bit at a number like that. I mean, he walks 14% of the time, but still, I mean, the kind of numbers he'd have to put up at the plate to sustain an almost 40% strikeout rate, it'd have to be like mantle level slugging for it to make sense. He's still our number 2 prospect, according to Let's Go Tribe, and I think he can figure out the strikeout rate. I have a feeling that the huge spike this year was just bullshit. It just happened to be RN Jesus, to borrow a phrase from video gaming. I think that he'll bring it back down again, and of course, I'm a dude in Chicago who doesn't really get paid to do this. He's talking about his strikeout rate. So I'm sure that he's heard from the team brass. Sit down and take a look at what you can do to be a little bit more patient at the plate. And I expect him to work on it. So I'm not too concerned about Zimmer. I think he'll be an everyday player someday. Our number 3 prospect is Tristan McKenzie. And he's been great. He was a 2014 first-round competitive balance pick, which is right after the actual first round. It's usually, I think, 8 or 9 picks there. He's a righty, and he, to put it in Brian Heminger's words, absolutely blew away opposing hitters for both low-A Mahoning Valley and single-A Lake County. He's 6'5". He's also 165 pounds. So he's a twiggy. He's a twig. But in 9 starts at Mahoning Valley, he had an ERA of .55 with 10 Ks per 9. which is ludicrous. He got promoted, and then he got even better. He went up to 12 strikeouts per 9. His walk rate dropped to 1.5 per 9. And he's averaging 6 innings per start at 19 years old. He hits 95 with his fastball. He's got a plus curveball, and he's still working on the changeup, which, fingers crossed, if he can make that changeup a plus pitch, we're looking at a guy who's got 3 plus pitches, who's going to be hitting the team, I would say, within 2 years with the way he's been playing. I like the idea of a 21-year-old starter who's still going to, I would hope, put on some muscle and maybe gain a couple miles an hour on his fastball and gain some durability. I like the idea of a 6'5" guy at 21 breaking the team. Sounds kind of like Bartolo Colon in a lot of ways when he came up with the Indians. Although it's a little different since he was an international signing and has since become the guy who wiggles his belly to celebrate things. Number 4 prospect is Yandy Diaz. I've said plenty about him. Number 5 at the moment is Bobby Bradley, who... Whew! Bobby Bradley's a one-tool guy. That tool is power. And if you haven't gone back and read... it was a fan post from a while ago on Let's Go Tribe, and I'm pretty sure that it was from... I can't remember. I feel really bad because it was a great fan post, but it breaks down the ISO, which is it's isolated power for hitters in the minor leagues. And Bradley's isolated power is with the likes of Alex Rodriguez, Mike Trout, Larry Walker, Goldschmidt. Like, it's elite. He has elite power. The problem is the rest of his tools are slightly below average to average. People think he can work on his contact rate. And again, we were talking about Vada before. If he decides he wants to be a student of the game and be a little bit more patient, take a look at where he hits well and what he should be swinging at, he could be like a 45 to 50 home run guy in the major leagues. I don't think that's unrealistic for him with the bat that he's shown so far. It sure would be nice to have a guy like that, given that a 50 home run season these days is like... I can't even think of a good metaphor because of how rare it is. Nobody hits 50 bombs anymore. It doesn't happen. It's exceptionally rare. Number 6 is going to be Greg Allen. We haven't agreed on it yet, but there's absolutely no way that Greg Allen doesn't win the 6th overall prospect spot. At high A, 298, 424, 402 with a 139 weighted runs created. At double A, he didn't really slow down at all and even picked up a little more power. 290, 399, 441 with a 138 weighted runs created. There are some who think that Naquin's days are limited because Greg Allen's going to come up and be that outfielder that's paired with Zimmer and hopefully Brantley. The good news is we've got multiple good young outfield prospects. I still count Naquin as a prospect. I know he was up the entire year, but he's raw for sure. We've got Zimmer, who I expect to see, I would say... Remember what the Cubs did with Chris Bryant 2 years ago? There's a time frame where you bring a guy up and you get an extra year of control because you waited for 2 weeks. I expect Zimmer to hit the team right after that for the extra year of control. And possibly Diaz is going to hit there as well if he doesn't break with the team. I could see Greg Allen coming up sometime as well. He hasn't hit AAA yet, but he's got the talent for it. He's improved moving up a level. And he's got speed. This is the other thing I didn't mention. He stole 38 bases in 432 plate appearances. So almost 10% of the time that he got on base, he also stole a bag. The fuck? It's an exciting time to be an Indians fan, because we have a core that's going to improve that just was a win away from the World Series. I wouldn't say we have a top 10 system in the minors right now, but it's a very good system. We have a lot of high ceiling guys. And if it works out, good Lord, we might not have a rebuild around 2020. It could be a straight up reload. And I'm excited to see if that happens. So, thanks, guys, if you're watching. I think we got just the one comment, which is fine. It's Sunday, it's cold, no one wants to do anything. I'll be back on Wednesday on Twitch, on Thursday on Twitch to continue the weird Indians out of the park baseball seasons I'm playing. Essentially what we've got is in 2025 the Indians have the smallest payroll in all of baseball. And I expected the team to lose almost all of their games. And instead, they're in first place on July 6th. So that's interesting. We've also got the prospect chat with Brian Heminger. I think it's going to be every other week, so it'll be next Tuesday is the next one. We've got the podcast on Monday, so look forward to that tomorrow with Matt and Jason. And then I think Tyler's also streaming some random baseball games on Saturday afternoons as well. So we're keeping busy. Don't hesitate to reach out to any of us on Twitter or on the Let's Go Tribe site. And we got Edwin Encarnacion. So keep that close as we wait for spring training to arrive.